All right, we are live. I'm already seeing some questions in the chat, which is great. We are right now missing Pat Kerrane, who's actually in, or is it like Stanford or something, filming some stuff for the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry. So he will be joining us, I assume, shortly. If you didn't see what he was filming, we had a little sneak preview on the, I think I can just post this in chat, but we had a little sneak preview on the NBC Sports Edge NFL channel, whatever or Twitter channel, whatever Twitter feed. It's premier content. Like it doesn't get much better than this. It is incredible. So let's see if this will just post in chat. Hope that works. Yes, it does. I'd only there it goes. There it goes. So check that out if you haven't. That's what he's busy doing right now. We'll be getting him in here shortly. But while we're at it, I will fire off some questions for you guys. Have a big DFS slate coming up. I think this feels, I don't want to be optimistic because being optimistic has been punishing this year, but it does feel like we have one of the better DFS slates of the year. I mean, the worst kinds of slates are when there's one super obvious shootout and nothing else to deal with. Like, I want either a lot of high scoring games or no high scoring games, but I don't want the middle ground of there to be, oh, one game, it's just Bills Chiefs. I think that week was like the only good game in town. Bills Chiefs. If it's not that game, then if you don't play that game, you get super contrarian and you die almost half the time because that game is so likely to shoot out. But it's probably smart in theory to be fading it. This is not one of those slates, nor is it nor is it one where maybe it's good for GPP bros to have a slate where every game sucks and everyone just condenses to what ultimately is bad chalk. But those games aren't entertaining to watch at a minimum. So to me, this is the perfect balance where we have KC Cincinnati shootout, Los Angeles, Las Vegas shootout. What else do we have? Oh, any game featuring Detroit ends up being a shootout, but Jags Detroit shootout, and a couple of other good individual offenses on the slate as well. So I think this should be a good one to talk about, but we'll probably hold up until we get Kerraners in here. So please throw out your questions. Help me bide time until Kerrane comes back. Should be done filming soon enough. So he should be joining us, I imagine, later in the show. I'll start off with some questions if he isn't back. We'll talk a little DFS solo. I saw this one. This was the first I saw this in chat right before I went live, and I had to look up and make sure this is correct or whatever. And disappointingly, I was hoping to play some Jalen Warren. Najee did in fact say he was playing. I think he told reporters that I assume minutes before I went on the show. So that's the latest piece of breaking news we have. Najee Harris playing. Should I play him over Miles Sanders? I would not. I mean, the Pittsburgh offense has been downright terrible. Najee Harris has been one of the worst running backs in the league between the tackles. And now with Jalen Warren, also I assume being back, he got cleared and wasn't even put on the injury report. So he's 100% back. With him returning, there's not as much pass catching work. The between the tackles work is not efficient from Najee Harris, nor is it likely to result in many touchdowns. So I'm not even going to have him ranked as, I don't even think I'll have him that close to being an RB2. I don't think. I mean, I admit he was playing a little better before the 2 games before the oblique injury, had 4.5 yards per carry plus in both of those games on 20 carries. So maybe that was a sign of things changing. I'm reading chat and one of them got me. So, maybe those are signs of things changing, but we have a pretty long season-long sample. And even last year, he wasn't an efficient runner. He was a high-volume runner. So there's nothing good going for Najee right now other than the fact that he's healthy-ish, to be clear. So, no, Miles Sanders is in a rough spot, but he still plays for a great offense, and he's still better than Najee. So that's where I'd go with pick 2, Najee. People... we talked a few times about Gabe, DeAndre Swift. When everyone's asking questions in the chat about this player, you got to fire him up. Najee is not going to be one of those scenarios. I don't care how many people ask about him. He could be 1%. I ain't playing Najee. It is a good spot. He does play a terrible Falcons run defense. I don't talk I'm definitely not telling you to start him in season long. I guess there may be worse things to do than play him in DFS, but I can't think of many. Pick 2, Najee Pierce, Zay Jones. Oh man, I also don't like Alec Pierce. I think I'd still go Alec Pierce, though. There's just so many concerns with Najee where at least, I know for a fact Pierce is probably, a pretty efficient runner when he gets the chance. Will he be afforded the chance this week? I don't know, but it is the Browns' run defense, which is the worst in the NFL by EPA per play allowed. So I still think they get blown out. I mean, it's the Texans. They get blown out most weeks. But at least they're going to be getting blown out in a game where when they choose to run, which maybe won't be as often because they're losing, at least when they do so, it should be really effective, which hasn't been something that's been true of Pierce's game for a few weeks now. But I'll be a little bit back on the Pierce train this week. Not that much. I did ridicule Pat Daugherty on our Tuesday ranking show for ranking him as a top 20. Maybe it was 20th or 21st on the dot. Maybe I should warm up to him a little bit more. Wonder how much he is this week. Is he cheap? He's been cheap. And Rex Burkhead's dealing with concussion. I don't know. I mean, he's probably not playing through it, I'd imagine. Let me see. I'm getting talked into all these terrible running back plays, man. I can't. I looked up Alec Pierce. Wrong Pierce. Let me see. Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce is. I can't even find him. So yeah, I've almost come full circle already on Damian Pierce. Let's see. Oh, there he is. He's 59. That's not too bad. That would be, I'd imagine that's like direct leverage off of Travis Etienne, who now looks, fully healthy. He's going to play. Not bad. So anyway, Pierce. Oh, I don't even know which Pierce this is. I assume Damian. If it's Alec, I'm going to be so annoyed. I assume it's Damian. No one should be starting Alec Pierce. Damian and Zay Jones is my final answer. Sorry for my rant. Okay, Damian, I see. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking here. Damian's floor last week, and I think the week before that too, where he's like 10 carries, 12 yards or whatever. It's a good spot this week, though. I mean, other than being a massive underdog. But the Texans are always massive underdogs. At least he gets to play a bad run defense. Najee's floor should be the exact same thing, though. So it's the same floor. I just want to bet on talent when I think both players are like scary/bad plays in theory. Dalton Schultz or Muth at tight end. I would go Freiermuth here. Need to start 2 wide receivers. Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
I don't know if you noticed, but I already dropped in chat. Did you see our account, the NBC account, already tweeted out the?
I see that I have a lot of Twitter mentions, so heading over here. I haven't really looked at them yet, but yes, I did see it was tweeted out.
Yeah, it's I put it in our chat too, just so people could really enjoy it. Also, not as a way to talk about something and stall until you got here, but I've been answering questions. Need to start 2 wide receivers: Sutton, Zay Jones, and Lazard. Give me Zay and Lazard. I'm not playing any of these Denver players. Terrible. Darius Slayton or Treylon Burks. It's Burks isn't obviously. You asked and you shall receive. I was told there would be Pat. Where's Pat? He's right here. I don't think he's singing on this show though. They take the guitar away once you walk off set.
They do. Yeah, you're only allowed to sing once a day here at NBC. Is a strict rule.
Yeah. What else we got? Kyron Williams or Damian Pierce. We're not starting Rams players. Pat, who's the worst offense in the NFL right? Yeah, Damian Pierce for sure. Who's the worst offense in the NFL right now?
Honestly, I think it still might be the Broncos.
Dude, I keep telling Rivers I think it's the Broncos, and he keeps telling me it's the Texans.
It's the Texans, Rams without Stafford, or the Broncos. But the fact that Broncos are even in the mix is so embarrassing.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like a little bit of the fact that they are so greatly underperforming my expectations of them. Even like as I readjust every week, I put them lower. And they underperform that one. They keep undercurrenting my awful expectations. Maybe that's, but also I think they're last in the NFL in points per game. So I'm not wrong.
They've scored, I think, 20 points like once all season, and they've lost 7 of the last 8, and they have a great defense. So they would have a legitimately terrible offense.
Yeah. I'm gonna say they're the worst. They might even be worse than the Perkins offense, although that one's.
I think they're the 3rd worst after the Perkins, Rams, and the Texans. But
I legitimately think the Texans are better. I think the Texans are better.
You think the Texans are legitimately better?
Aren't the Texans literally scoring more points right now? Like at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. You know what? I have more confidence the Texans can run the ball. The Texans can do something. By the way, I think Pierce. I might be a little higher on Pierce than you. I think he's like kind of a high-end RB2 this week. I think they'll be able to run the ball this week.
Oh, interesting. I just think like they're going to be down 30 at some point. They should get, like most Texans games, they should get murdered.
Yeah, I think it might happen a little more slowly though. Like kind of the boa constrictor effect.
Yeah. Also, though, if the Browns are running, I guess the good thing about the Browns running a ton is that they run really efficiently. So at least they're like not going to entirely kill the clock as far as like the most run first team goes. But and also I would say, I don't know if you saw this, but I think Rex Burkhead was not practicing to start the week with a concussion. I mean, Pierce is like doing nothing as a pass catcher, but DraftKings is a full PPR site. 6 for 9 and no touchdowns is still points. So
what about Eno? Is it Eno season?
I would think
it is not, by the way. I'm just kidding.
I think it would be Dare season would be my guess.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
But I would think it's probably better to not have Rex Burkhead than it is to have Rex Burkhead. Yeah, it's hair splitting.
Let's do pick 2: Kamara, Jeff Wilson, Traylon Burks, Kyron Williams, Bam Knight. I mean,
dude, when did his name become Bam?
That's I don't know. I think that's his nickname.
Yeah, I know. I even saw I saw him like officially listed in a database as Bam Knight. I was like, who's this Bam Knight running back? And it really threw me for a loop.
It's crazy that you're already super familiar with Zonovan Knight, who was a surprise active last week.
Yeah.
Wait, so it's definitely Kamara here is the first guy.
No question. And to me, it's still Jeff Wilson. I mean, like Kamara has been awful for the past few weeks, but like 7 targets last week, 4 and 5 targets a few weeks before that. Like, even if you lower it's another thing where like your expectations are being underperformed, so you really don't want to play him. But like his volume, even if you just look at it from a receiving perspective, is still that of like a high-end RB2 at worst. I know he plays for a bad team, but I'm still Kamara, and I think still Jeff Wilson.
I think, Jeff Wilson or Burks would be the other.
You could sell me on Burks, but I think I'd still go Wilson.
The offensive line stuff for the Dolphins is definitely concerning.
Little sus.
Yeah. I'll go Burks just for the brand. You're going Wilson, but we agree it's Kamara. Evans or Christian Watson at wide receiver PPR. I mean, I'd be fine going Christian Watson.
I think, yeah, do it. Yeah, the hell with it. Go for
it. This guy says Damien. I agree. All right, here we go. Here's an actual question. PPR, bonus points for 100-yard games. Pick 2: Henry, Swift, Jamal Williams, Rashad White, Perine. And we're picking 2 receivers. You should have just thrown in the quarterback and tight end at this point. Chase, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen. Now let's do the receivers first. It's a little shorter.
The first 2 receivers are the first 2 answers.
I think I'm starting A.J. Brown. I'm getting A.J. Brown. I think I'd go Amon-Ra and over Chase, just because we don't know the routes.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I am concerned, but like it's Jamar Chase in the highest total game of the year.
Yeah. They're still obviously I think he's feeling good. He says he wants to play. I don't know. AJ Brown's in a sweet spot. So
yeah.
It's tough for me to bench him. You think that's crazy though to go Brown over Chase?
No. I don't think
Brown
it's crazy.
How do I get Brown in here?
Are you
Amon-Ra or Chase?
Amon-Ra and Chase for me, but if it's Brown, then it's Brown and Amon-Ra.
Okay, so you're Amon-Ra over Chase, which I think I am too. Amon-Ra's in an awesome spot as well.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Chase is probably a little more prudent, but AJ Brown if you enjoy life and want to have fun. Oh wait, we didn't answer the running backs.
I know. I thought you might just skip them.
Henry, Swift, Jamal Williams, Rashad White, and Perine.
Henry lock.
Henry's a lock. Yeah, Henry's an absolute lock.
I would say if Joe Mixon doesn't play, which I still think he does, but he hasn't been cleared from concussion protocol yet, so at least check up on that. If he doesn't play, I'll take Perine getting all the touches in a high value spot. But if not, I'd probably go Rashad White.
That's where I'm at. Yeah. I completely agree. All right. DeAndre Carter or Chase Claypool. For me, it's Chase Claypool. He was actually in a near full-time role, and Darnell Mooney's out. They need him. It's like he was at 70%, I think, route rate last week. Not a huge jump for him to be at like 80, 85. And at that level with the targets available, he's a pretty nice play.
Yeah, for sure.
Am I starting Zonovan Knight over Kamara? No, you are not.
No.
Are we playing a lot of Kamara in DFS this week, Kyle?
I was doing that with Najee Harris because like 3 people asked about him. But I think Kamara is the more prudent way to
the guy who will score points.
Yeah, exactly.
Justin Herbert or Justin Fields. I actually have this decision in a dynasty league.
Fields, definitely Fields.
Yeah, I'm Fields too. Flex spot, should I trust Mixon or start Christian Watson? I would go Mixon if he's available for sure. Mixon's in an awesome spot.
Yep.
I think Mixon's. We're going to talk DFS soon, and he's someone I'm very interested in. Brian Robinson or Gus Edwards. Brian Robinson for me. We have Antonio Gibson maybe not playing, although it seems like he probably will, but maybe he's not fully healthy.
I'm still Robinson too.
All right, lottery tickets to cash. Pick 2: Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, or Travis Etienne.
Wait, one of these is not a lottery ticket.
One of them's Travis Etienne.
It's like imagine you're like, all right, I got a $20 scratch off, a little $5 scratch off. One of those like
and this bar of gold.
Yeah, I was literally gonna do bar of gold as my riff too. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Etienne, and I think if Fournette plays, I actually want to play Pacheco.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, if Fournette goes, then it's Pacheco. If he doesn't, it's away.
And Fournette's going. I say if he goes.
That assumes McKinnon does not go. If McKinnon and Fournette go, I might go Brian Robinson.
Fournette's going for sure. He was a full participant in practice. I shouldn't have even really brought that up. I don't know. I just want to play the running back on the highest team total and the highest game total in Pacheco. And really, I'm not like that excited if McKinnon doesn't it doesn't change the calculation too much for me. Pacheco isn't a pass catcher. Maybe he'll get a few more routes, but
word on the street is he's going to score 2 touchdowns in this game. So I think Pacheco's the right call. Pick 2: Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight. Some people are saying Kyron Williams, Cordero Patterson, Kamara. Dude, I think Kamara is the play in DFS if these are the guys. Kamara 1, Bam Knight 2, or Patterson. I don't think
Bam Knight 2 for me. Patterson's like a total 50-50 committee back on a low volume, low scoring team. Give me Zonovan.
Yep. All right, Latavius Murray or Kyron Williams? Latavius, I think.
Yeah.
All right, best 2 prospects to keep. I assume this is a keeper league, dynasty league, something like that. Jalen Warren, Zonovan Knight, or James Cook. I mean, James Cook, like no brainer. James Cook is a absolute smash to keep. He looks like, I think he's going to be a star. He looks so good. And Singletary's in a contract year, isn't he? It could be his backfield next year. Yeah, it's looking like kind of the dream scenario for Cook. Looks to be shaping up long term. Jalen Warren or Zonovan Knight. I mean, you got to think about who has the path to actually kind of weaken startable value for the next couple years, and it's Jalen Warren, right? There's no chance that Bam Knight's going to be playing ahead of Breece Hall 0. Maybe he's a mixed-in Michael Carter guy, but Michael Carter is also on a rookie deal, so I think Jalen Warren.
I don't think there's really much of a chance that Jalen Warren does that either. I mean, I don't think Najee's that good, but have you seen what teams do?
Have you seen Najee Harris?
Look what has happened with Zeke for the past few years. Teams they just don't care. However, I do think there's a chance Warren is a mix-in PPR value guy, and I think there's much more of a chance that even though it's small, that he does get some sort of actual split. I mean, we're finally seeing with Zeke. It took 3 years, right? But we're finally actually seeing it. We could see that one day with Warren. We will not see that with Knight. We just won't.
We will never see it with Knight. And you also, sometimes with this stuff, you just need the narrative. You don't need the actual production because you can trade these guys.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You just need the narrative to materialize. And the narrative is so much easier to imagine with Jalen Warren. They talk him up in the offseason. Plus, Najee Harris a year ahead on his rookie deal, so he'll hit free agency sooner, although that's probably further down the line. We really need to look, but I think the narratives are on your side with Warren. All right, Kamara or Dillon? I assume this is A.J. Dillon?
Yeah, are there other Dillons in the league? Yeah, Kamara for sure.
I was hoping there was a Dillon I was forgetting because I don't think I'd ever start A.J. Dillon over Kamara. Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson?
Oh, I have dreadful news. I don't think Kamara's on the main slate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's Monday night. I was going to say, I think they were
releasing. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he'll be a good play in Showdown, but when those things condense into 2 games or 2 teams, let alone 2 games.
Maybe we can do the Sunday Monday. We're doing the Sunday Monday, Kyle.
We could do that.
All right. Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson, and then let's talk some DFS.
Watson.
Yeah, I think Watson. I don't think it's the best spot for Watson, but I mean, that's a much higher ceiling play. All right, let's talk some DFS, and let's start with the game environments that jump out to you here, because there are some awesome game environments. The Bengals, Chiefs, I assume that's going to be pretty popular, although it's a little hard to stack on the Chiefs side, as we know. That's a pretty spread out offense. The Lions and the Jaguars is pretty fun. I think, like, kind of fun to build. Trevor Lawrence only 5,900 on DraftKings. I think double stacks are in play with him. Jared Goff only 5,300. Any other? I mean, those I think are like the two like kind of obvious like, oh man, these games could go off. I'm also curious to get your thoughts on the Eagles offense, because I do think they could just like attack heavily through the air this week, but you're paying a lot. Jalen Hurts is 8,000, so you're gonna have to find savings if you go that route.
Yeah, I think the first two games you mentioned are like clearly the chalk games. I don't want to get too over my skis on this, but I think it is a little hard to build Mahomes lineups because he's expensive, Kelsey's expensive, and after that, the rest of the guys are obvious question marks. Like Justin Watson looks like a decent value at 30, whatever 100 he is. But as soon as we get Juju back up to a full-time role, it's possible that disappears. But then Juju wasn't in a full-time role last year. But these are like the perfect things to gamble on as far as getting the Chiefs as not the highest owned, quarterback, wide receiver, or just quarterback pass catcher stack. I think any week that they're not that level of ownership, when they have the highest total and the highest game total, two teams that we think are very likely to play with the higher pass rate over expected. The Bengals have mostly been good this year, and the Chiefs have been almost entirely good this year in that regard. So it's, to me, like anytime you can get them, I can't believe that like you're not going to get 25% on Mahomes, because that's where like I think he should be close to that. So I love that. I don't love Jacksonville versus Detroit as much because I don't think the teams are nearly as good. Like obviously it helps for Detroit to have a bad defense, but Lawrence has been
pass defense is also terrible.
Yeah, I don't want to bet on as much of this game being, oh, well, defenses are bad, because most of the time when we come in, we talk about, oh man, like offenses have so much more dictation of what actually happens in the field. It's just the design of the game and the design of modern football that I think it is more fragile. Not that I think it's a bad game. Like I'm not like hammering the under in this game by any means, but I do think it's more fragile to say like Trevor Lawrence, who he's been really good in recent games, but could not stop getting out of his own way early in the year, that he won't do that again this week. Whereas I don't see that as much of a problem in the Bengals versus Chiefs game. So if I had to pick one, frankly, I would sort of play a lower projection, but what I would say is a higher ceiling stack in terms of the Chiefs stack versus going like Lawrence with, any of the pass catchers there. I don't think it's a bad game. I think you can certainly make good lineups with it. But if you're making me split hairs, like,
well, it is tough. It is tough because you're going with the Jacksonville. Like, I think it's probably more fun to play the lineup that builds itself, or that you want to build is Trevor Lawrence, two guys. You could either use ETN or you could use ETN with one of the receivers. And Zay Jones is pretty cheap, 4,900. And then, or you could go, I think it's fine to go Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, like, ownership aside. And then you bring it back with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, that's going to feel really nice. Yep. But like everyone's going to do that.
Yeah, that's why I want to play the less. It's going to project for less points too. Like it is a lot more value. Like the best values on the slate, paying up at receiver, best value hands down is Amon-Ra. Paying down at receiver, best values, I'd split hairs between Garrett Wilson and Zay Jones. You probably give the credit to Garrett Wilson, but like top two value paying down, Zay Jones. Maybe the number one value, points per dollar value, quarterback is probably Trevor Lawrence. So I do think like that lineup builds itself, and I don't want to be playing the lineup that builds itself. That's like,
it's just very tough. If your quarterback, double stack, and the bring back are all chalk, like you're gonna have to get wacky. And also, I don't know. It's just it seems unlikely that's going to be the winning combination. Because how are you separating? You're going to have to separate some like really off the board plays elsewhere. So I'm kind of with you, although it's certainly difficult to build with the Chiefs. But within the DFS stuff, like if something's difficult to do, then you can feel confident that it won't be particularly high owned. I mean, that's I don't know how deep into the DFS stuff the audience is, but like the ownership projections have been pretty inaccurate this season as people have been like kind of misjudging what's going to get kind of the late hype, the steam. And I think if something's hard to fit in, it's never going to get steams because it's not comfortable.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. So if we're choosing, give me Chiefs Bengals. I don't hate Jacksonville, Detroit. One game, I'm not sure if you mentioned at the very end there, but was Chargers, Las Vegas. We got like the shootout probably is one of the highest scoring. Maybe it was the highest scoring game. It was like 74 points from the Raiders and Seahawks last week. Jacobs goes nuts and he looks relatively healthy. He's just super underpriced on DK at 7,900. Like he looks like an 8,500 level back. Like you could probably price him similar to Kamara. It's the way he's playing, both passing game role, elite running game role, faces a terrible Chargers run defense. I think they're like 31st in running back points allowed, like 28th or something in EPA per rush allowed. So like Jacobs underpriced. We finally saw Herbert get back on track. My only concern last week is with the 3 touchdown performance is he did the 3 touchdown performance the exact same way he had been doing the 1 touchdown, 250 yards. It was just absolute dink and dunk. Like it was his lowest ADOT of the year. He doesn't have Mike Williams. He's not going to have Mike Williams again this week. So I don't think a ton changed like schematically from the team. It just worked out that week. And it's a great defensive matchup, right? But do you find a ceiling performance from a guy throwing 5-yard passes every single play? Yeah. Like I don't.
And if you do, like, can you just play Eckler? And
I was going to say, can't you just play Keenan or Eckler? Exactly.
Yeah. And Eckler is pretty interesting. I mean, he's going to be like somewhat popular, but he's more expensive than Jacobs. And I imagine people aren't going to be playing them together. I mean, it's a lot of salary.
Yeah,
not just
agreed.
Leaving aside like the playing 2 running backs in the same game element, it's just a lot of salary to spend. So I'm pretty interested in going to Eckler instead of Jacobs. Not that Jacobs is a bad play. He's an awesome play, but the field's going to be on that more because he's just cheaper. So he's going to let you do more things. That's like one of my reads right now. I haven't really built, so I don't know how much that's going to cost me to move up the 600, but I would like to play Eckler if I can. Let me get your thoughts on the Eagles here, because that's one that like I don't think is going to project very well from like points per dollar salary wise. And also the total's not particularly high in this game. So, projection systems and stuff aren't going to be like super, super fond of these plays, I would imagine. But like, dude, the Eagles, I really feel strongly that they shift their offensive approach based on their opponent in a way that a lot of teams really don't. Like the Falcons, like play the Falcons way in every single game. And they play that way if they're down. Like the Packers do the same thing. If the Packers are down by 3 scores, they play like they're down. They play like they're ahead, frankly. We saw this from the Patriots last night. Like they were down 3 scores. They're playing like, they're driving down to kick a game-winning field goal or something. Like, so, and it's not actually that common for teams to like wildly shift their offensive approach based on the matchup and the game environment. And we've seen the Eagles do that. They did that in a big way against the Steelers. They've also done it in the run. They've shifted to the run game in spots that I think it makes a ton of sense for them to have done that, and it's worked. So against a really strong Titans defense, run defense specifically, I think they're going to play this through the passing game. I really do. And so that one's, I mean, it's expensive, and I don't know if I can fit a Jalen Hurts double stack with Smith and AJ Brown, but I almost just want to force that and then like make it work somehow. And it's probably playing Bam Knight or I don't know what else, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think I would do the double stack, even though like
just the single. Yeah, it's probably
smart. I totally agree that like it does look like a really good spot for this team. Like Titans aren't terrible against the pass, but they're so good against the run. Every team has chosen to pass on them. They're not like, a Raiders, Lions type of level defense versus the pass. They're like middle of the pack-ish. I think they're even like slightly above average, but it's because every team sees that as the way to beat them. And just in terms of raw fantasy points per game allowed, they're one of the worst, best for opposing offenses as far as passing game production allowed. So I do agree that I think that's exactly how they'll approach this game. But the interesting thing is we haven't seen really much, like we haven't seen nearly enough of AJ Brown for me in just 2 game samples. I don't want to harp on it too much, but it's been the Devonta Smith show since they lost Dallas Goedert in terms of who's been their top receiver. He's leading them in both air yard share and target share. But on the positive side, the cheaper of the 2 receivers might be the wide receiver 1. I don't know how much I buy into that, but I think it's possible. I don't think I should like close my mind. Like I love AJ Brown. Of course I love AJ Brown. I don't think I should close my mind to the fact that in any given week now, it could be, it's much more likely to be a Devonta Smith week, which for your stack,
had been in the past. No.
Yeah, exactly. Much more likely relative to what Devonta Smith's odds used to be clear. But
yes.
That probably works out in the favor of your of your stacking idea if you're comfortable doing just a single stack and like you just run it back with Treylon Burks.
Exactly. That's what I want to do. I want to run it back with Burks. And yeah, single stack to Brown probably makes more sense. That's the way to go. That's what I'll do. Maybe I'll tack on Quez Watkins just to make it gross.
I like that. I like Quez. I play Quez every time in Showdown. I've never not played him in Showdown.
He's only 3,800, so it's not insane. But yeah, you're right about Devontae Smith over the last 3 weeks, actually leading in target share over AJ Brown. But like, we're both numbers-based guys here. I think this narrative, man, like this revenge game narrative, like I actually think this has legs. Like, dude, he's going back to Tennessee, right? It's in Tennessee. Like, there's no way. This team has Super Bowl ambitions. Like, you need AJ Brown like bought in. There's no way that he's gonna be happy if you don't feed him the ball against his former team. That he is like so tilted that they traded him. He's so tilted. Like, I actually do think like that's worth like an additional 2 targets. Like, that's how I would price it. I think it's worth 2 additional targets, and against this pass defense, that's worth a lot.
Yeah, like at his price range, like how do you feel about his odds of outscoring? And you don't have to it's not an either or. You can play both in a lineup, but just for reference, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb. You can maybe lump in Tier.
I feel fairly confident about. I think Lamb scares me. I think in a lot of like outcomes, Lamb outscores AJ Brown, but I do think like AJ Brown has a massive ceiling. I mean, we saw him go off against the Steelers 3 touchdowns. Like, we know that, and Lamb has a big ceiling as well. But Lamb would be the guy that jumps out. Like, Chase, I can easily fail with just not running a full slate of routes. Hopefully that's not the case, but I think it's very plausible. And then Waddle, like, they're in a tough spot with their offensive line. So yeah, I like AJ Brown over Waddle straight up.
I hate to say it, or Pat was right. We could use a few more boom weeks for AJ Brown. He has 2 20-point games. I mean, one of them is a 40 burger, but he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, well, guess what? This is a daily fantasy, Kyle. It's called daily fantasy. We only need one more boom week, win us some money, and then do whatever you want for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I might play a little bit of this. This is a pretty good spot for this team.
You could also maybe do it as a mini, right? You could do AJ Brown because, I mean, Hurts is so expensive. I'm not sure where else you go quarterback, but you'd have.
I like that too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the mini would be with Treylon Burks. I think would almost have to be the bring back. He's only 4,600. Doesn't look like he's going to be super popular. Yeah.
No, because Zay and Garrett Wilson are both within 1,000 of him. It's going to be. I mean, like, he maybe will draw like 5 to 10% optimistically for people trying to play him or whatever. But I think even like 8% would be like the high end of what he gets to, just because like there are true obvious plays in games that people just want to slam, or on offenses. Yeah. Somehow Mike White makes the offense an offense people want to slam, but it is worth it. That's warranted. So, and also Garrett Wilson.
Somehow is that he was twice as efficient as Zach Wilson has ever been in his entire career. I mean,
they also play faster and pass at a higher rate when Mike White is under center. So, and he has a low ADOT, so he racks up those PPR points for his players. So he's built in a lab to be the quarterback on DraftKings of your favorite receiver.
I mean, and Garrett Wilson, we should talk about just 5,300. I don't know what I was reading there. 5,300, and it's a pretty nice price tag for a guy who's going to see a ton of volume. Clearly the number 1 wide receiver on a functional offense all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be like uber chalk. I think he'll be like the second or first most popular wide receiver, because there are so many good spots to pay up for, like good pay up options at quarterback, at least 1, probably 2 good pay up options at tight end, good pay up options like 7K spots for running backs that like Wilson, Zay Jones. Like, you could even push that down to like a Burks or a Nico Collins as well. That's going to be the range. Collins. Yeah, that's going to be the range people will be like trying to live in as far as 1 or 2 receivers in their lineup. And Wilson just headlines them, obviously. I already laid out the details of why, like, the Mike White offense, as we call it now, it's just perfect for fantasy scoring.
It really is. Any other game environments, quarterbacks that we should talk about before we go back and do some more Q&A?
I do think Miami is like an interesting one because they're like clearly a top 2 to 3 offense, right? Like there's just no doubt. Tua basically leads the NFL in every single efficiency metric, and they're one of the highest pass rate over expected teams, and they funnel every single one of their targets to one of like 2 players. They're another team that just like built in a lab to put up fantasy points, but they get a pretty tough matchup with San Francisco. They get a San Francisco defense that's getting healthier, whereas their offensive line is missing both tackles this week. Likely. I don't think it's officially been ruled out, but Armstead and Austin Jackson aren't playing. So it's like every factor outside of the fact that they've been incredible this year is bad, and squaring those 2 things is difficult.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's tough for me because I just feel like it's like imagining how the game fails is so much easier, but like it doesn't matter. Like if it fails in 40% of the universes, and we don't happen to be one of those universes, the ceiling is super high. So
exactly, the ceiling for them. I mean, Tyreek has probably the highest ceiling, and he has not only does he have the highest ceiling, like a lot of players have 30-point ceilings. He reaches it so much. Like he has, his best games this year are 3 separate 30-point performances, a 45-point performance, and a 29-point performance. Like he is not only obviously one of the highest ceilings, him, Jefferson, a few other guys, but he's reached it probably more than anyone else.
No, I agree. I mean, he's the highest ceiling guy, I think, pretty easily. All right, let's skip back. We're going to talk some more DFS at the end of the show. Let's answer some more Q&A here before we do. So this is talking about how the Seahawks have the 24th pass defense. The Steelers are 28th, Lions 27th. Am I crazy for wanting to start Darnold over someone like Kyler or Herbert rest of season? Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy. You're crazy. Darnold's terrible. I don't care what we saw last week. He's bad.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. The fantasy season is. You are insane. You have become the Joker. It's not a bit. Yeah. Both. I think both are. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Kamara, Bam Knight, or Jalen Warren? Kamara.
It's darn shame he's not on the main slate.
So this is a similar question from Confirmed Insane, Kyle Chad. Similar. Where would you put Pickett with 2 matchups against the poorest Ravens D plus the Falcons and Raiders D? I mean, I think Pickett's certainly someone you could like use in a pinch and has some upside if you don't have any quarterback upside. But like you have Herbert, dude. You still do. You're not playing Pickett over Herbert.
Yep, totally.
If Mixon and Harris do not play, who is the best pickup? Perine or Jalen Warren?
To me, it's Perine, but I think both play. I mean, Mixon returned to practice to start the week. He hasn't cleared concussion protocol yet, but they can probably put that off until Saturday.
You think Harris is playing?
He said right before, probably as you were walking to the show, he said he plans on playing. I had to learn that from Chad as well.
Back-to-back DNPs, I wrote it up assuming he wasn't, but
no, I for sure. I came into the show like I actually already have a Jalen Warren lineup saved. Like my dummy lineup is a Jalen Warren lineup. He said 10 minutes, not even before we got on the show, he plans on playing, which obviously like that's not a guarantee. Plans change,
right?
But it's a pretty strong this late in the week, especially. Players always say on like right after the game, I'm playing this week. But to get through most of the week and still plan on playing, I do think he plays. If he doesn't,
he needs to get in a limited practice, right? I mean, his odds of playing with 3 DNPs are pretty low.
If he says he's like, I don't know. I think he plays. I honestly think he plays. Right. And yeah, so supposedly he did return to practice today too. So
okay,
I think he's
playing.
Right,
he'll probably play then. So okay, so they're both. I'm shocked. I think it's Warren. It's Warren over Perine with both in.
Yes, for sure. It's Warren over Perine with both in.
Zay versus the Lions or Burks versus Philly. Now this is our DFS brain, right? Because the Zay is going to be the popular guy in DFS, but is he the better play?
Nah, play Burks.
Yeah. Lazard is Donovan Knight.
Dude, I kind of think you should play Donovan Knight.
I do too.
It's a good spot for all of the Packers is not just a good spot for Allen Lazard, but it's like a very easy matchup against the Bears, who talk about narratives. I do think Rodgers would love to kill the Bears. But the thing is, Lazard is just his team's number 2 receiver. Christian Watson is just infinitely better than Lazard. So I'll still not pick Lazard there, but I think it's worth discussing.
Full point PPR, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Latavius Murray, or DeAndre Swift. This is like a legit tough one here.
Yeah, I think it might be Latavius. Like I got to make sure Mike Boone hasn't been activated, but I don't think he has. Assuming he's not, I think it's Latavius. You're getting all the snaps on an offense.
I think I'd still go Deontay over these guys. I know it's terrible.
Yeah, I think you should give up on that.
Yeah. So should I play Swift? Can I?
I almost said Swift. I think that is a better one to not give up on.
Okay.
Because I'm fine with that. I think Latavius is the most likely player of this bunch to get like 15 touches and a touchdown.
But that's it. Like if I think his most likely line is like 15 for 55. Like it's gonna be so gross. And like, I don't know. In a lot of cases, he's gonna outscore whoever we say. But how much? I'd rather go with. You know what? I'm gonna do Swift.
Let's do it. I'm fine with that.
For Swift this week. Great game environment. It's rough. That one was rough. Took some life out of me. Last question: if Mixon doesn't go, I think Mixon's going. But no, I would still play Kamara over P. Ryan.
I think so, but it's close. But yes,
that's
and
close.
Keep Zonovan as the RB2. I would start a starting P. Ryan, only a starting P. Ryan, but over Zonovan.
Me too. Justin Fields or Tom Brady?
Fields.
Justin Fields.
Fields
start night if Carter doesn't. Yeah, I guess we should.
That he is obviously. Interesting.
People don't seem enthused. Should we do a single stack to Chase Claypool?
Oh yeah, how much is Chase Claypool? Dude, that's actually kind of crazy. I doubt really anyone's going to be playing Fields this week, and he's like the quarterback won by a country mile in points per game, since he started blowing up.
Claypool's 3,800.
Maybe we're playing okay, I am definitely playing a Fields Claypool lineup.
Me too. I'm locking that in right now. Oh, dude, Fields is not going to be played. He's 7,400. He's not like super. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not like prohibitive.
Yeah, I think he'll be like 5%, 3% maybe. Maybe. He might even be less than that. Oh, what a good play.
We're gonna make so much money this weekend. Oh, let's hope one of these weeks we will, right? Start night if Carter doesn't play. P. Ryan if Mixon doesn't play. Gibson, Murray, Palmer, or Pierce in half PPR. This is a novel. You try it.
If Carter doesn't play, I think the likely outcome is Mixon plays and you want to start Zonovan Knight. I'll just cut it there.
All right, that's what we're doing. I agree with Kyle. All right, pick 2 for PPR, please. Deebo Samuel, who missed practice yesterday, Christian Watson, George Pickens, or Treylon Burks. We're picking 2, and those 2 are
Watson and Burks, because Watson and Burks, definitely Watson, but Burks too. I saw some Deebo Samuel concern on my timeline earlier today, like health concern. So I actually am not confident he plays and in what capacity he plays.
Cool. Zonovan Knight or DeMarcus Robinson? Zonovan Knight. Bam Knight.
Yeah, for sure.
PPR, I need 2 wide receivers. Josh Palmer, DeAndre Carter, George Pickens, or Deontay Johnson.
I guess you strong armed me into picking. Yeah. Yeah. Palmer too? You taking Palmer?
I don't think I'm double stacking. I think you pick your Steelers guy. You pick the guy because it's not going to be like, yeah.
I agree. I think Palmer plus your pick of the Steelers guys. 2 Pickens.
That's where
I can't stomach any more Deontay.
Again, like playing for ceiling, like I think Deontay is much more likely to be like 5 for 75 or whatever. But Pickens, I think, better bet for a big play. And it's a weak secondary, so.
Yeah.
Pierce or Robinson?
Who
is Robinson? Oh, Brian Robinson.
They have the junior.
Yeah, I'm
it's
Pierce.
A little bit of a tell. Yeah, Pierce.
Yeah, that's true. Pierce or Donovan Peoples-Jones? Pierce. Bye week trouble. Mike White, Pickett, or Mariota? He says
White.
Gross. I've seen worse, man. I've seen worse. I think White as well.
Yeah.
I've been dying to ask this question all week, JD says. Who is the better Christian to play this Sunday? Kirk or Watson? Dude, you know the answer to this.
Dude,
Watson.
Unscrew that Mountain Dew, take a big chug, and play some Christian Watson.
Dude, we were so right on our Mountain Dew take last week, remember?
Why would you not play Christian Watson? He's awesome.
Over Alan Lazard?
Oh.
We
imagine playing.
Imagine those boomers.
Like, I was gonna say what's a lower level than Diet Coke? It's water. Imagine like a disgusting glass of water sitting in front of you. It's bland. It doesn't bubble. It doesn't bubble. When you sniff it, the bubbles don't burn your nose. You don't get any rush from it. And a fizzy glass of toxic colored Mountain Dew, and you take that Mountain Dew and you chug it all down because you love playing Christian Watson.
You chug it all down. I like agreeing with Kyle because it makes me feel like I'm young still. All right, so I get to side with you against the two boomers, Pat and Denny. All right, PPR start two. Start two of these running backs: Rachaad White, Jeff Wilson, Kareem Hunt, Kyren Williams, Jaylen Warren.
That's the first two for me.
And Jeff Wilson, yeah.
Yep.
Start one at flex: Tyler Boyd, Kyren Williams, Latavius Murray. You will get me on the Latavius Murray train here.
Yep.
Fields or Trevor Lawrence? We're playing Fields, dude. We are playing Fields in DFS.
Yeah, man. We definitely are. I mean, we're playing him here, but we're playing in DFS. That's it, man.
Yes.
Especially with such a good cheap option in Chase Claypool. Like, that's a great play.
I see a ton of love for Zonovan Knight, who isn't guaranteed a role, and no love for Jordan Mason, who is getting talked up by Jimmy G for a big role this week. Should I expect low ownership from Mason? I wouldn't be touching Mason in DFS. I think that's a kind of a Galbraith play because CMC's playing. CMC says he's playing a full workload. So
yeah, that's the thing that kind of got snaps, me too. CMC said he said something about he's getting a full workload or whatever. You are right about the fact that no one will play Jordan Mason. I can concur with that. I don't hate
it. You have to be right so many times. You have to be right that McCaffrey doesn't play a ton of snaps. You have to be right that it is Jordan Mason. Like, there's a chance it's Tevin Coleman or Tyrion Davis-Price. Like, I don't know. It just feels very thin to me.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I think it is an interesting thought exercise because he's 4,500, the minimum price, and the role he could be stepping into was like 15 touches a game for Eli Mitchell. But I will say it's not nearly relevant enough for me to do it.
Yeah. The other thing about the Zonovan Knight part of it is that, like, while I agree, like, there's certainly nothing guaranteed about Zonovan Knight. You do have the fact that he was active over James Robinson last week, and he was getting touches even before Michael Carter was hurt. So, and he's kind of a versatile back. So I think he's pretty interesting in a lead back role. Like, I would be surprised if he wasn't the lead back with Michael Carter out. Nothing is guaranteed, though. I agree in a sense there. Better PPR play: Dameon Pierce versus the Browns or Christian Watson versus the Bears?
Watson.
I think Watson, but that was actually semi-close to me, but I would go Watson. Half PPR, need to start one at the flex: Tyler Boyd, Kyren Williams, or Latavius Murray. I guess we answered this. Latavius.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, need two from Pittman, Olave, Christian Watson, and Josh Palmer. Congratulations. Pretty nice wide receiver core there. We both really like Chris Olave.
For sure.
Is he one of these two guys?
Olave. Sit Pittman. Go Watson, Olave.
That's tough. Pittman's getting a lot of looks, man.
They're just so low value. Matt Ryan is a dumpster fire. Andy Dalton's also a dumpster fire.
Ryan's going to be under a ton of pressure this week, too. So I think play the rookies, man. Bust out that Mountain Dew. Now, here's a good question. Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson?
I'm going to go Justin Fields. I actually am not liking what I'm seeing from this Ravens offense. I have mostly attributed it to the loss of Rashad Bateman. I think that's probably partially right. I do think there's some like bad luck, like Mark Andrews, again, dropping touchdowns. He wasn't the only one too. But I also think like taking a very elite receiver who fits your scheme perfectly off the field and replacing him with Demarcus Robinson is very bad. So I'm going to go Justin Fields.
Yeah, I am too. Pick 2, and apparently P. Ryan is also included in this in a comment below. Kyron Williams, A.J. Dillon, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Warren, and P. Ryan.
Definitely. Deontay Johnson. You pick the next one. I don't know.
God, I think Warren.
I was gonna say I think Warren's like a decent play because like his role wasn't dead. He was actually like splitting the routes and getting some carries. Looks pretty efficient. It's a great matchup on the ground versus the Falcons. Obviously, your like ceiling outcome, barring like Najee re-injury, is a dozen touches, but that's not terrible. So yeah, Warren.
First round bye on the line. Do I play Geno against the Rams or Mike White against the weak Vikings pass defense? I'm afraid with Stafford out, the Hawks will be running all game. I would go Geno.
I think
they actually will attack this the right way because the Rams' run defense is really good.
Yeah, I would still go with Geno. I think that fear is not unfounded, but I think you just.
I don't either. I don't think it's crazy to think about it, but I'd still go Geno.
Me too.
Gus, Bus, or Edwards? Bus Edwards.
Dude,
Gus,
why isn't Kamara on the main slate? It'd be such a good play.
Kamara. Dude. Kamara.
I think even on this the Sunday Monday slate or whatever, there's only 2 games.
I'm gonna play the Sunday Monday slate, I think.
Yeah, he'll still. I'm just saying. I assume he'll still be owned because there are.
There's no
4 teams.
Man, why is he on the main slate?
I know. That's tough. Kamara, obviously, if you couldn't tell.
Thoughts on Deshaun Watson, 20 points? Can he score 20 points? Yeah, he can score 20 points.
Yeah.
Am I crazy for benching Mike Evans for Zay Jones? I would not. In standard scoring, especially, I would stick with Evans.
Yeah. You're not crazy, though.
Just here for the smooth crooning. This is the wrong show. I don't.
You missed it. You
missed the crooning. Better double stack: Watson, Lazard, or Kirk Jones.
Is it too? I think I dislike Lazard so much that the better stack is still Kirk Jones. But like Kirk Jones, Trevor, has to be the most popular double stack of the week by a pretty considerable margin. And Rodgers could murder the Bears, but I'm not playing Lazard out here. I still think you're probably better off playing the chalk stack.
So wait, I think I'm actually on the Rodgers or on the Green Bay side of that, but it is very close. But it's got me thinking: can we play Christian Watson in our Fields thing?
63. Oh my God, you're right, and everyone's asking about it.
No, 5,200. Oh, dude.
Imagine a stack that builds itself that's going to be like 0.9% like not cumulative
built from players except Chase Claypool, but built from players who are crushing Fields and Christian Watson. Like these are the Mountain Dew All-Stars.
Dude, oh my God. I will literally buy like a ton of Mountain Dew if this stack hits.
That's so great. We got to get Mountain Dew gear and show just like a bunch of Mountain Dew swag for the Rotoworld.
Oh my God. Like imagine like shipping something big. I would amount of Mountain Dew gear I'd show up with.
I'm gonna throw one in the Millie Maker. So.
I have 2 entries into the 555 Millie Maker, and I'm gonna do one of them as the Fields as the all Mountain Dew team.
All right, sweet. Can I trust Justin Fields if he plays, or should I start Tom Brady? Dude,
Fields.
Dude. I might go all in.
And the stacking options are so cheap that you can still get your like Chiefs mini or whatever, like
you can do Komet too. You could do the Komet. You don't have to do the Claypool thing. You could go Komet.
Oh, that's such a good
that's
play.
taken care of.
This is incredible.
Because Komet won't be popular either, right?
No, I don't have him as popular. I can look it up, but I don't.
Komet's only 3,800.
Yeah, man. We're gonna be so rich after this weekend. Awesome.
Can we double it, or is that too crazy? Can you double it?
You can double it. I don't think I would, because you're giving up, like, just in terms of overall roster spaces, like a bit of opportunity cost.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we're looking at the rushing so much with Fields anyway. I might run 2 though. I might run a Komet and a Claypool. All right, Pittman or McLaurin, full PPR. Thank you.
Pittman? McLaurin?
I'm Pittman here.
Pittman. I'll do Pittman too.
All right. JD's asking if Christian Watson is he on the wide receiver 1 borderline for you in your rankings?
I think he actually. I'm not logged into my rankings. I guess I can check on the site. I think I'll end up having him as like 14, 15 by the end of the week. I might even. Borderline is totally fair to call him what I will have him as.
Lamar or Deshaun Watson? I think I'm Watson here.
Me too.
Watson or Garoppolo? That's Watson. All right, let's close with this. FFPC playoff spot on the line: Goff, Zay Jones, or Brady plus Evans?
I think it's Goff, Zay.
God damn. What world
it's the second highest total of the week. Zay has clearly established himself as like 1A or 1B. Like, I think the difference between him and Kirk is not that large. I mean, I think if you can do Goff Evans, that's what I would do. But I'm assuming you're playing for the correlation too. Maybe you need to make up like a little bit of points or something. So of these two choices, I'm Goff Zay. I don't think it's a gross question though. That game looks nuts. Like, it's the second highest total, and it's a high scoring week.
Yeah, and the narrative street stuff. Mike Evans is getting Marshawn Lattimore, who's coming back for this game. By the way, he's been injured for weeks.
Oh my God, I forgot. He literally hasn't played since like a week or two after he faced Evans last.
I kind of brought it up on the pod. I was like, we have this, right? Like, this is a thing, because I wasn't sure if he was going to be back, but it seems like he is going to be back. I don't know, man. I'd be tempted to go with Brady and Evans still. But, for the correlation, just a little mini. But I guess you do have correlation with the bringing back.
I'm going Goff Zay. I think it's very close.
Dude, I feel your pain. That's a really, really tough one.
For sure.
I would also consult some projections on that. Don't let us be the final arbiters. But we lean Goff Zay. Yeah. Make sure you. Yeah. Oh man. All right. Good luck. I hope you get that playoff spot in FFPC. All right, Kyle. Let's talk some DFS here for a few minutes, and then we'll close out. So, running backs. This slate kind of jumps out to me as like one where there's a lot of expensive running backs in good spots. I mean, we talked about Mixon. Getting Mixon here, I mean, I think he's in a really, really good spot. Obviously, it's going to be tough to project like how popular he's going to be, given that it's unclear if he's playing right now. But man, like, the one thing about this game that's tough for the Bengals is that the Chiefs actually have a decent pass rush. I think Mixon could be like a big part of their game plan this week. We've seen that in the past where he can just feast. Austin Eckler's in an incredible spot. Travis Etienne's in an incredible spot. Josh Jacobs is in a really, really good spot. We talked about that a bit. Christian McCaffrey's in a pretty solid spot. Obviously, he's going to be a little risky to play, but maybe that keeps his ownership really low. I think those are probably the guys that like jump out to me as being like in really good spot. Oh, Nick Chubb is in a really, really good spot, and Derrick Henry is in a really good spot as well.
I actually have.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have Henry and Mixon written up as potential pivots off of. I think the most popular running backs are very clearly going to be Jacobs, Etienne. I had Montgomery in there earlier, and I still think he'll be a top 4 owned running back. But man, our Fields team could also be a little bit of 20%, 15% own David Montgomery leverage. But I think it's going to be
get leverage too.
I think he'll be like in a tier 2 of running backs between like 12 and 16%. Whereas I think Jacobs and especially ETN, I think ETN will be the most popular running back, closely followed by Jacobs. After that, I think it'll probably be a pretty big block of running backs that you could tell me they're 8 or 16, and I believe you once the cards flip. But I do love Joe Mixon as clearly a 3-down back. Like he actually doesn't technically play on a ton of third downs, but he gets so much receiving work on early downs that you don't care. It's like splitting hairs on which down he technically plays on. He is, even despite having his bye already behind him, missing a game, the running back, I believe 5 or 6 in overall expected fantasy points. He's a top 10 flex option in terms of expected fantasy points. And this game could score 1 billion points. Yeah, I absolutely love that. So I love him.
Mixon's going to get steamed. I'm calling it now. Mixon's going to be very chalky, but yeah, I think awesome game environment. Just like it's a concussion, so we're not expecting, like once he clears the protocol, we're going to expect like a full workload. That obviously didn't work out with Juju last week, but I think in general, people aren't going to be like afraid of his snap share. And then you look at other guys, I'm seeing like some ownership on Kenneth Walker, on Dalvin Cook. They're like the same price as Joe Mixon. I think a lot of that just flows naturally to Mixon once we know for sure that he's in. You're getting a better game environment. It's easier to see the receptions, like a lot easier than Cook and Walker. I don't know. I think you're like, maybe you also have some people thinking, I'm not going to play Josh Jacobs. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to go for the low owned Joe Mixon, save some money too. Now I can do other stuff. Look at me. Look how smart I am. You're not that smart because he's going to get super steamed. Now I'm into playing him. I'll probably have some lives, but I'm going to play him, I think, with the thought that he's going to be chalk.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I also do like the other one you called out was Derrick Henry. I almost mentioned him as a run back to our Philly teams. And though like the running back quarterback correlation is much weaker than it is with opposing receiver, at least with Derrick Henry, you give the potential of any given drive. He's one of a few running backs who can end the drive from the 50-yard line, which like I don't buy that for a lot of running backs. He's probably one of them now. So, and he will not be owned. You can, I did think, I'm like, will Mixon get up to sort of the Jacobs territory? I don't think so, but I think he could probably siphon away a lot of that. Like instead of 6% Dalvin Cook, we get 2%. Instead of like 9% Kenneth Walker, we get 3%. So I think that's probably
that's exactly what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's a fair read. That one happened with Derrick Henry. Like he's too close to Josh Jacobs, who will be popular. He's too close to Ellison Eckler, who's probably just a better points per dollar play because he catches a ton of passes and it looks like a good game. But like, it's just it is truly just the IQ bell chart of like Derrick Henry doesn't catch passes in the middle, and it's like, but he's Derrick Henry, and then the other side is also, but he's Derrick Henry, and
we talk some narratives. Kyle, I don't know what computer you're on. Do you have a little date up in the corner of your computer that you can check for me real quick?
Oh my, it's December 2nd. It's December 2nd. Is that some sort of significance?
Is that relevant to this conversation at all? Is it perhaps Dehember?
I think it's Dehember, and it's a good matchup too. Dehember should start off on a very, very nice note because the way you beat the Eagles is on the ground. That's how teams have chosen to beat them. Although they're a good defense in general, they're below average in points allowed to opposing running backs. It would be a beautiful way to ring in Dehember this year with like a 30 burger from him.
I don't know that you can afford to do this, but maybe what if you do? I got one for you. Now this is, you're deciding against the revenge game narrative. You're saying revenge game narrative getting beaten by Dehember, the stronger narrative. You go Derrick Henry mini correlated with Devontae Smith.
Oh yeah, you can do that. That's not going to cost too much of your salary. I think the concern with my Hurts, with your Hurts stack that I think still makes sense, is that he is so close in price to a lot of other good quarterbacks that like you do need. It's crazy. I thought he was going to have like a 50 burger last week, and he had 150 rushing yards, still only got to 32. So I don't think his ceiling is like that much different than Mahomes, but the game doesn't look as good. I think you don't need the game to push for 60 points or whatever if you just have two players, even if they're a little higher priced. I don't think you need to push for that. If you have Hurts, you probably do need the game to really go nuts.
Yeah, you do, especially because there's like good cheap quarterback plays this week.
Mm-hmm.
So you need like a massive ceiling game. Do you think it's too much to spend to go Henry Brown and go double narrative?
I think you could do it. I think I would rather play Devonta though.
Yeah, it gets really tight if you're going with that expensive running back.
I mean, Henry, I don't think Devonta's going to be that popular. I know Henry won't be that popular. That does probably free you up to play a chalkier stack like the Lions game or whatever.
Okay. That's how we do our Trevor Lawrence. We go D. Hember with Devontae Smith coming back. Man, I've never actually felt like all my lineups are built while doing the show, but I kind of feel like they are. All right. I want to close out here in a minute or two, but just rattle off some tight ends that we can play that aren't going to be like mega chalk. Who is going to be the mega chalk and tight end this week?
So right now I have it as Travis Kelce being the only popular pay up option. There's only 2 like super pay up options on the slate. I think he's obviously going to boat race Mark Andrews in terms of ownership. He's on pace to have the most red zone targets since the year 2000 for any player at any position. Like, he's got like 3 touchdowns is so much more achievable for him than like any other player in the NFL. Paying down, I think Foster Moreau will probably come in as a bit popular. He's coming off a decent game. He has literally missed 6 snaps in the past 5 weeks. He's got like a 99.9% snap share. I probably wouldn't play him as chalk because although he gets all these snaps, he's like a 0.000 targets per route run guy because he's Foster Moreau. And then Hayden Hurst. I don't think his ownership projection hasn't moved recently. I think he will be in the 3rd or 4th most popular stack as Hayden Hurst, Chase, or Higgins plus Burrow. Like, I think Burrow's side will be the way to play the Chiefs game. Lawrence side will be the way to play the Lions game. And Hayden Hurst is going to come along for the ride for sure.
Yeah, and Hurst is a nice pay down option, but it's going to be tough if he's chalky. We try not to use chalk at tight ends. I don't see really anything, though, in terms of the cheap tight ends that looks good. Cole Kmet, man, I can't imagine. Yeah, all right, maybe we go Kmet with this field stuff because it's a really nice pivot off of some of this other chalky cheap tight ends. Evan Ingram is at only 3,000. That's maybe a way to get a little differentiated on your Lawrence stuff.
Yeah, I actually had that one written up. I think that's a decent spot to get different. Like, before, he was dealing with, I think it was a back injury like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's had bad performances ever since. But before that, he was like consistently getting like 6-7 targets. He was tying up both Zay and Christian Kirk in terms of targets. Like, they were all hovering between like 19 and 21% target share for a stretch. He's super cheap. He plays in like the best game environment. And I don't think he gets steamed up like Hayden Hurst does. Like, Hayden Hurst was like a borderline cash option in the past few weeks. So.
All right. That'll do it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure to check out all the other content that we have for you on this channel, also on a podcast feed, Rotoworld Football Show. We got a recap pod, got a rankings pod with Kyle, Lawrence, and Pat. We got a Pat and Denny pod. We got a preview pod that comes out on Thursdays. And then all of our content on rotoworld.com. Kyle's got you covered for DFS. I've got you covered with an in-depth game-by-game preview called The Walkthrough. That's out right now. And we will see you guys next Friday at 1.